This is a live episode of the Marathon Handbook podcast.
Amazing.
We are coming to you from the floor, the slightly elevated stage, I guess, here in Boston at the Boston Run Show. We are anticipating no more than 3 people in attendance, so this is wonderful and appreciated.
Yeah. This is great for our social media, so no one leave.
Yes,
okay?
exactly.
Please
You're all stuck here for the next 30 minutes.
If someone
28
gets up
minutes.
and leaves, that's a really bad sign.
Yes, yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about what you can expect in the running world in the next number of months and then beyond. We're going to talk about whether or not this is in fact a running boom and why. We actually got into a little bit of a debate over drinks last night about whether or not this is a running boom. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Katelyn's passion. We'll talk about trail running. And finally, Mr. Sear is going to tell us a thing or two about some mysterious Nike shoes that we know that are coming in the next couple of years that may change running forever. There's a little teaser for you to stick around for the next 25 minutes. Okay, first things first. Guys, just straight up, is this a running boom?
Yes, man, of course it's a running
Yeah.
boom. Of course it's a running boom. What? Do you want to look at the metrics, the stats? Or how do you, I have 2 ways of thinking about it. One is stats. There are way more people running major marathons. New York, London, Chicago all set attendance records in the last year. Also application records. More than 100,000 people applied at these races, well over. That's
680,000 in London. No,
880,000.
We're talking almost 1 million people applied to go to London, so I think we're talking a boom.
Yeah, and that's the rational way of looking at it. Anyone can Google it and figure out we're in a running boom.
Yeah.
But what I'm noticing is my Strava's going insane. Like high school friends are following us on Strava. People who never ran before are getting into it. In the last couple years, I just think it's way more appealing to people to run. As much as I just want to think it, I actually think it's true.
Yeah, and I mean, I think obviously the pandemic has a huge element to play in all this. Like, I'm not going to do this to any of you. We're not going to go back and relive the pandemic for a moment here. But in the first couple of months, it was pretty dire. And the only thing a lot of people had to do for a stress outlet for just to get out of the house was to run. I remember looking out my window in Toronto and seeing random people running in shoes they had no business running in, just going back and forth around the block.
Yeah.
My question for you is this though. Has that continued? Has there been a drop-off or not? And because there's not really a lot of stats about the last couple of years. There's stats about 2021, but I don't know where we're at right now.
I don't think there has been. I don't think there has been a drop-off. All I see, at least in the trail world as well, is that we're just continuing to exponentially increase participation in races. Just on the streets of Costa Rica, just where I train, just the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people out there on a Saturday and Sunday morning doing their long runs is just insane. Where maybe 5-10 years ago, you saw your handful of runners. The running clubs are there. I can name off 8-10 running clubs. We're talking about a really small area that I just have hundreds of runners in each of them. So I just see that maybe COVID gave us that, okay, we only had permission, at least in Costa Rica for a while. You could go outside if you were going to exercise, and that was all, right? So everyone started running just because they wanted to get out there, but it just hasn't stopped. It was kind of like what we needed to get going, but I just see this snowball effect, and we just keep growing and growing every year.
Yeah, it's COVID, but it's more than COVID. When I ask someone why they're running now, like a high school friend I used to play other sports with, it's not about the pandemic anymore.
Right.
It's the gear, man. I think it's the gear. It's the gear. It's better gear.
Everyone wants stuff.
Better shoes. Better.
So wait a minute. You talked to your high school friend, and you're like, "Why did you start running as a 30-year-old?" And
No, they
because of the Vaporfly 3s. They're just amazing.
I used to get messages from my high school friends on Facebook, and I'd be afraid to open them because I was convinced that it was another pyramid scheme. And now they want to buy Sauconys, man. I'm like, what's so? Yeah, it's people are into gear. It's the watches too. It's you can quantify the whole thing. Running used to be very simple, and now it's you can see your progress in any which way over a span of months, and that's appealing to everyone. You can start and be a very, very slow beginning runner. You see yourself get faster over a month. Your watch tells you that you have a better VO2 max. it stops telling you that your walk is too fast and asks you why you're winded in the middle of the day.
Or that you're overreaching.
Yeah, see, you're getting better.
Overreaching. Oh God. Yeah,
I
no,
hate
that's true. Like, or the opposite in my case, which is like my watch is telling me that like my resting heart rate has increased by 10 points, and I'm slowly dying and getting old. That's
yes.
that also happens too. That's coming for you.
Yeah, I don't
But,
know, maybe in
yeah.
15 years.
Yeah. So one of the interesting things to track in all of this is what's going on with races.
Yeah.
There's two things. There's like a happy story and then there's a sad story. And I think the happy story is major marathons. They're booming.
Yeah.
Like London, I'm just going to do this off the top of my head. London, New York, and Chicago, all well over 50,000 people in 2024, with New York setting the record of 55,646 finishers, I think.
Yep.
Don't quote me on that. But so there's that. And everyone wants to run these races. We said it off the top. The flip is the little races.
Yeah.
Is like, so like I ran the Utica Boilermaker a few times about 10 years ago, and maybe I've got blood on my hands here, but like I haven't been back in a long time, and I saw a stat that like basically attendance for that event like has been halved in the last few years. 20% of races overall since the pandemic have not returned.
Yeah.
And those I would presume are mostly local, small, mom and pop style races. So like Alex, you're at fault for this. You're our millennial Gen Z stand-in. You're our punching bag. Why is it that people, let's say under the age of 35, because I'm blaming you totally for it, why is it that you want to run majors but not a local race?
So first of all, I'm 29, okay? And second, I blame social media. Like I blame social media for a lot of things. I'm getting into a training block or a training build, and I want to do a race that like relates, that people know about, that I can like compare my time with my friend's time. And that's a major race. Like we have now this culture around Boston, around New York. Going to the London Marathon and running it means something. And you post it online and you share it with people. And that's a lot more appealing than doing the race that maybe only you and the people around town know about. But that's bad. And then it makes me wonder, like, is it true what we're telling ourselves? There's a running boom because there's a whole lot more people who care about the Boston Marathon? Or is it just that these people who are really into, who used to do like the local turkey trot, now we're all posting the same things on Instagram, and it's creating this illusion of like a much bigger running culture than there used to be, and maybe in fact there isn't?
Well, I think that maybe Michael and I we didn't grow up, as we're always dating ourselves, we didn't grow up with the social media, with posting everything that we did. And so for us, maybe that's not such a big factor, but for you it is. But my take on it is that, yes, the marathon majors, everyone wants to run them. I even want to do all the majors one day. We want to do the majors. But I don't feel as though, I feel like the local races are going to have a chance again. Because look at how difficult it is to be able to get into these majors.
Right.
If we're talking almost 1 million people trying to get into London, 53,000 people were able to get into London. Very small percentage of people are making it in. Can you travel? Can everyone afford to go ahead and go around and do all these marathon majors? I feel like at some point, people are going to get a little tired of trying to get into those races all the time and getting deferred. We see it, we'll later talk about the trail races. Some of these trail races, there are 3.5% of the applicants getting into the races. After about 5 years of not getting in, you're going to say, you know what, maybe I'm going to give some love to my local races because it's just seems...
You're always the optimist. I love how you're like the glass is half full. The small guys are coming back.
I think they will, because people want to race races, and if they may get frustrated not being able to get into those majors for a bunch of years.
I mean, it would be sad if these races die out. Like the Boilermaker, for one, I don't know if anybody's ever done the Utica Boilermaker before. A huge, long tradition, amazing event. It would be a tragedy if that event went away. It's like a classic American road race, but it's a bit of a weird distance. It's a 15K race, I believe. And, that's like, it's not a half marathon. It's not a marathon. It doesn't have that prestige to it, but it's a special event in its own right. And they serve a shitload of beer at the end. So, well, there goes our E-rating.
Oh, he always does this to us.
We try to be a clean podcast.
I don't know if I'm allowed to swear in the next one. I apologize for children here. I have a 6-year-old, and my wife gets mad at me every time I swear in a podcast. So.
And she should, because then we get censored.
That's right, we do. But,
but she's
I did
not
it,
watching
so there
this
we
one.
go. The Band-Aid is off. on that note, this pains me to say this. Running clubs are the new dating apps.
Oh, come on.
Is this true, Alex Sear?
Is it true?
Man on Tinder, or
Man-
not man no longer on Tinder.
Wait a second.
I'm in a 5-year
Alexis.
relationship. I don't know where this podcast is going. We're happily together. I'm engaged, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it the new dating app? Yeah. So we actually had a conversation about
Yeah.
that the other day. It's like, why is it that so many people seem to meet at running clubs? And is it true, or is this just like something that we've heard once and that we just keep repeating?
Yeah, is it anecdotal and it's become like a
It is
trendy
not.
talking point and a fun thing to like post about on social media, and then like, you know, outlets like ours will write about it because it sort of feels like it's a trend. Is it real?
Yeah.
I have literally been to weddings of people in my running club in Costa Rica who have gotten married. They've
Yeah.
met in the running club and they've been married. So I have been to numerous weddings. We have a number of couples. And I think it's just, it has evolved just organically. It's not like we set up the running club so that would be the idea. But the thing is, you're coming into something social. A ton of people are meeting other people who love to do what they do. And let me tell you, being a runner, and if you're an ultra runner and you're running tons of hours a weekend, it's really convenient to have a partner who also likes to run a ton of hours and understands that. Because if not, they're like, really? We can't go out again? You have to go
Yeah.
to bed early? You can't have a drink? for
Alex
dinner?"
is experiencing this friction right now.
The
with-
first time, yeah.
Yes,
when
yes.
my girlfriend and I met, I was running a lot less than I am now, and so it's like it's kind of a slow burn. But I have this friend, and he's middle-aged, and he has kind of a rough take on the Gen Z generation. It's Michael, and Michael says that the problem with this generation, you know, you're getting old. You're like, the problem with the kids
I'm
today.
turning into that guy.
You're that
Yes,
guy.
yeah.
He says it's like, and I mean, I can't agree with this. I'd be sewering everyone in my generation. It's that people can't go to the bar and just like meet someone organically, and so they need this like. So I'm doing the dirty work for you.
Thank
they,
you.
They need this structure where it becomes okay to like go and meet someone. It's like kind of a safe structure where everyone is okay and into at least have one thing in common, and that's the running club.
You have one thing you can talk about, which is running, which is what runners want to talk about all the time.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
dream girl for me. It's like, just talk about what did you do? What was your 17th K split in the half
Yeah.
marathon? Oh yeah, that was a
Exactly.
good split. Yeah.
But I do wonder if this is something that has always existed, like it existed when you and I were getting into running a million years ago, and it's just something that wasn't documented in the pre-social media age. No one was writing about it. But like, I met my wife at a running event too, and you met your husband running.
Yeah, well,
There
we
you
got
go.
set up
So-
because we both run.
Wait,
so
wait,
it's-
wait. Can we see a show of hands? If anyone here met their significant other at a running event?
No one.
Shit, we're the only
See,
ones.
so it's not real. It's not real.
Okay,
It's not real.
It's
There
not
you
real.
go. There you go.
Okay, that's it.
It's fake news.
Yeah, it's fake news.
Yeah. Okay. Good. We're not going to talk about Trump. Don't worry.
Oh boy.
All right, let's pivot. Let's hard pivot here.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so topic number 2, related, trail running, the big little subdivision of overall running. Trail running is obviously seeing, it feels like this has been a trail running boom for a decade now,
Yeah, pretty
but the
much.
last couple years have been nuts.
Yeah.
345% increase in the number of trail runners in the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's a large number. Even if it's 0, it's still a large number. Well, it's 0, it's not a large number. Why do you think, Katelyn, everyone is doing this crazy nonsense that you've been passionate about for 15 years?
I think, okay, there are a bunch of different reasons. And I think, you know, there are different types of runners, right? There are types of runners who are always going after times, who are going after podiums. Trail runners, I feel like you also have those trail runners who like to go after times, like to go after podiums. Some people like to go into nature, not worry about the pace you're running at because you're on different terrain. You're running hills, you're out there, you don't have to look at your watch. You don't have to worry about, it's just more of the experience, more of the adventure, rather than thinking so much about times, especially in ultras.
Sure.
You're running an ultra, and I'm not saying everyone, because if you're a very competitive ultra runner, you're probably not in this category. But you know, you're running an ultra, you're meeting people during the race, you're talking to people, you're enjoying the time. So I feel like there's maybe a whole group of runners who just say, well, I want to do trail running because I want to enjoy the experience. I want to do something different. I don't want to pound the pavement. I mean, I think why a lot of people are getting into it. And a lot of road runners come to trail running and they're already amazing and they just kill it on the trails.
And just the phenomenon of enjoying the run you just described is not all the experience of road running. I find like I've got like a pair of blinders on, and I'm like, oh yeah, New York City Marathon. Apparently I ran through 5 boroughs. I don't remember anything about it. It was just like a blur. I remember some high school band playing Rocky, and then I'm in Central Park and it's over.
I wish my marathons went by that fast.
Yeah. There's been the opposite experience as well, where I'm like, oh, I'm sitting on the side of the road in Brooklyn crying. Yeah. But I also think another component of this is the corporatization, which I know is like a controversial subject in the trail running world. The big bad UTMB corporation and the Ironman corporation muscling their way into the idyllic, beautiful, safe space that is the trail running world. But I think there's a good element to that, which is it's a business, right? And it's like it's modernizing trail running. It's creating standards and practices. I did a UTMB event in Hong Kong in November where I vomited all over the trail for 5 hours.
Really left your imprint on Hong Kong.
I did,
Michael.
physical imprint. Yeah. I remember a lot of that race. But the standards were there, the organization was there, the safety was there, the aid stations were dialed in. It had a like franchise vibe to it, for better or for worse. Right. So I think it's just like I feel like it's a growing pain right now. I don't know how you feel about it. I don't know if you've got lingering resentment, but
no, I really don't, because I want to see the sport grow. And I think that if bigger organizations take over some of these races, the sport will grow, and the same sort of thing will happen. I don't know if any of you are trail runners, but I mean, the number of runners who are able to get into the biggest races, let's say, so UTMB, Western States, Hard Rock, you're talking about the number of applicants and the number of runners. And Hard Rock, I think, I'm going off the top of my head.
I'm appalled by what you're going to say here.
Okay.
By how few people are actually running the Hard Rock 100.
Really look at the numbers. I was just going to eyeball it, but it was in UTMB, you have the best percentage chance to get in. There were 7,200 applicants for this year. 2,300 are running the longer race, right? The 171K. But in Western States, 10,000 applicants for the last race, only 260 spots. So you're talking about 2.6% of the applicants got in. And in Hard Rock, the Hard Rock 100, 3,000 applicants for 146 spots.
I didn't realize the race was that small.
It's so small.
It's like the most exclusive experience.
Yeah.
Like I know someone that went hella skiing in Alberta a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, wow, that's very like, that's a really kind of like a fancy niche thing to do.
Yeah.
This is like that on steroids. It's like to run this event is like a precious experience for you to do.
And you have to do, not only do you have to do qualifying races, and you have to get into a lottery for UTMB, you have to get stones. There's a really big process to get into these races. So again, I'm going to be optimistic, and I'm going to say, go local races, because if only 146 trail runners are getting into Hard Rock, we need other races, and those other races are going to be fed by all of the trail runners who are not getting in.
I kind of feel like this could apply to both road races writ large. Like, think about the secondary marathons in the world. I can't believe I'm calling them like B-team marathons, but like Valencia, Rotterdam, Amsterdam, our
Toronto,
race in Toronto,
Paris.
Yeah. These are all excellent events, but they're not marathon majors, so they don't have the sizzle, right? Yeah. I feel, and I know the governing body of the sport, World Athletics, gives them like a gold or a platinum, whatever. I don't think that connects with people. I think people want to feel like they're a part of something, and there's something slightly exclusive about it. And I think there's an opportunity both for marathons and also for the trail races that are not Ultra Trail du Mont Blanc or not Hard Rock 100 to kind of edge their way in here a little bit.
I prefer local races. It's just, even the community is different. Yeah. I like to support the local races, but I haven't run UTMB, I haven't run Hard Rock, and I haven't run Western States. Yeah. And to be honest, they're not right at the top of my bucket list. There's a lot of other races that I've done. An amazing race in the Dolomites in Italy. It was this small town race, and near Venice. It was incredible. Yeah. Well, not here, but And I just really love that small town feel. So even if you're going to travel and you want to do one of these big races, check out all these local trail races. They have them all over the world. Support them.
Are you into that new ultra that just makes you run through a tunnel for 200 miles?
Oh yeah. Have you guys heard of this? It's happening, I think, right now. It may have ended by now, but like I think we've got a story up on it on our site.
Yeah.
It's called the Tunnel 200. I think it's in the UK somewhere. It's running in an old like rail shaft underground. It's a 1 mile race that goes back and forth in the darkness in a tunnel for 200 miles.
Sign up before it's too late.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll have any problem getting in. No, I don't know.
No, I think it's one of these things where it's probably super exclusive and a lot of people want to do it.
It's like those 24-hour track races where you have to run 400 meters for 24 hours and see what is the highest distance you can get.
I don't want to do
that's another
anything for
level of
24 hours.
craziness.
Yeah. Except be alive, I guess. Yeah. Okay, let's pivot to the last topic here.
Our shoe guru.
Gear
guru.
Shoe guru, okay.
Yes.
First time I'm being called a guru of anything.
So first things first, Alex. Shoes in particular have evolved massively, even in the last few years. And I think we're starting to see I think super shoes in particular have sort of led the charge in the interest in the technological advances. And it's trickled down all the way to like your everyday running shoe. And I think we're on the precipice maybe of the next wave of super shoes, ? We'll get to that in a minute. But just right off the top, I want to ask you, 2025, you're a runner, everyday trainer, workout shoe, super trainer, and then a shoe you're going to run a goal race in, a half marathon, a marathon, say.
Yep.
What are your 3 shoes right now that you would suggest to people? This is an unbiased take.
This is an unbiased take.
Take notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No brand.
No brand sponsors it, and I'm
no
picking
brand
3
paid for us
different
to be
brands,
here. So
Yeah. So my easy running shoe right now is the A6 Nimbus 27, and the reason for it is just it's a 27. Like they've had 27 years to perfect it. And
it's older
just
than
good.
you are almost.
It's almost older than I am, right?
Literally.
And the problem with the Nimbus in the past, I felt it was a little bit too heavy. They made it lighter. It's a little bit bouncy without being too hard on the feet. It's just really good on the body, very durable. Nimbus 27 is my easy running shoe. Workouts, I've warmed up to this shoe this year. I didn't like edition 1 and 2, but it's an On shoe. The On Cloud Monster Hyper is just awesome. It's got a lot of power to it, but also like can give you a little bit of support. Like it's not an all-out racing shoe. My legs don't hurt when I finish a run with it, and I can feel like I can run fast. Like if I have a long run with a lot of threshold in there, I'll put the Cloud Monster Hypers on. They're expensive. They're like roughly $240-ish. This off the
you
top
got to
of
do
my
American
head.
dollars here. We're Canadian, so it's like
I've done it.
1,000
I've done it.
Canadian dollars or 200 American dollars.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're $290 Canadian. I'll tell
Yeah,
you that, which
yeah.
is like $20 American. No, it's
Yeah.
good. It's like $240 American. And racing shoe, this is with an asterisk. The racing shoe I wear is the like really pretentious Adidas Adios Pro Evo. They call it the one-use shoe. I've discovered you can wear them for a few different races. They're super light. They're less than 5 ounces. They don't have a carbon plate in them, which is somewhat particular for a racing shoe. It's mostly foam. It's really thinly made in the upper, and it's just so light and super fast.
And it costs $500.
It cost $500, and this was before my half, and I was like, listen, I've trained all this time. I need to like splurge and buy this thing. But they're also really hard to find. So the like alternative that I give people, because I'm a fan of like smaller super shoes, is not the Alpha Fly 3, which is what people are wearing to break records. So the Nike Alpha Fly 3 is a solid shoe, but it's the
my
Asics.
shoe. Oh, the Asics.
No, you're the Vapor. You're the Vaporfly.
You're going to say not the Alpha Fly, the Vaporfly. No.
Oh, no. The A6 Metaspeed Sky Paris. Again, because it's small and it's powerful. And I know we're going to get into like what's a super shoe trend or a couple super shoe trends of 2025. One of them is this, and I don't think people would have predicted this. I didn't. I think we're trending towards a minimalist movement in super shoes. And before you get the idea...
5-finger super shoes?
No. This is not the shoes with the separate toes. No. This is like super shoes that are trimming fat a little bit. The problem with the best super shoes in the world is that companies have managed to make them super powerful, but with all that power, the carbon plates, the foam, comes extra weight. And so you're left with something that is very heavy. I think the next thing that's happening, because we're seeing this happen, is companies are finding out how to make a shoe that's all of the bit as powerful, but lighter, 1 or 2 ounces lighter. That's the advantage that they're going to get. An early example of this shoe came out today. Okay, this shoe came out today. It's the Nike Vaporfly 4. And what's cool about this shoe for the nerds out here, the stack height is 35 millimeters. Almost every other racing shoe out there uses the maximum stack height that it can, that World Athletics allows them to have, which is 40 millimeters. So there's this appetite towards making shoes a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter. And so I think we're going to see that a lot more. Less carbon plates, less material, all as much power.
And so we're like right up against it. The half an hour has flown by quickly.
We knew that
We'll
was gonna
touch upon
happen.
it's really fast in like 30 seconds or less here. One thing that I think is really interesting about what's forthcoming in the shoe world is we discovered that there was a couple of patents that Nike filed, I think it was like last week or the week before,
Yeah.
that give us a glimpse into the future of running, and like they're super weird tech, like fluid-filled
Bladders. Which reminds me, I got to go to the bathroom.
Yes. Fluid-filled midsole shoes that will actually respond to like, basically like you could leverage AI in order for it to like move around under your foot depending on like the pressure points of your foot. Like second half of the marathon, you start getting sloppy and tired, the fluid will naturally shift to a point to kind of pump, to boost you back up again. And then also that shoe could produce data onto your phone that then could create a feedback loop so that the shoe will respond better to you specifically in the future. That's coming up. That's in a couple years. As a point of reference, Nike's first patent for the very first super shoe was in 2014, I believe.
Yep.
And then 2 years later, it trickled out into the elite world before 2017 when it got released in retail. So if you do the math on that, we're 2 to 3 years away from having weird, squishy, fluid shoes underneath our feet. All right.
Yep.
That's it for us. Thank you so much for
We didn't
joining
get the
us
chance to
today.
talk about bicarb. Next time. Next time.
We'll talk about bicarb in the near future. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you guys very much. Thanks, Alex, Katelyn, and Michael.